He can't be here, but one of the new people is here.
I always have to look up the directions for my alarm clock. I can't figure it out without the directions.
Welcome to the November 9th, 2022 meeting of the Senior Commission. I will now call the roll call. Commissioner Ambrosi?
Here.
Commissioner Crawford?
Here.
Commissioner Knapp?
Here.
Commissioner Zamora? Commissioner Starr?
Here.
Commissioner Chang? All right. Next is the Pledge of Allegiance. Will Commissioner Zamora lead us in the pledge?
Commissioner Ambrosi.
Oh, you want me to do this?
Yeah,
Okay.
Commissioner Zamora is not here.
Oh.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I will now read the procedures for public comment. Citizens addressing the commission during public comment are asked to approach the podium and are limited to 3 minutes unless extended by the chair, and must be regarding items that are not listed on the agenda and are with the city's jurisdiction. The Brown Act does not permit any action or discussion on items not listed on the agenda. No action will be taken on items addressed under public comments. I will now open public comments.
I guess that's me. I just came to listen. Okay, my name is Mike Sacamano, and I actually have several questions related to rent stabilization in this city. Has the commission done anything in the past? Is there plans to do anything in the future? And are there other places inside the city that a group of people who want to work on that should be talking to? That's really the question.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think that's something that we can explore further with our housing division. And so if that's something that you're interested in, or we can talk more about what your desire is and what you're interested in doing, we can speak about kind of how we get connected with our housing division and how we get them involved with what your concern is or what your issue is.
Okay. Yeah, there's a number of people that in several facilities around the city who have been talking about pursuing this in a more serious manner than I think's happened in the past. And I saw that on the commission. I just happened to see that you were appearing this week, and the conversation was last week. So I thought I'd come up and see if you had any information. So I'd chat with you afterwards or something?
Absolutely, we can certainly do that.
Okay, do you have a card? They don't let you have a card.
No, yeah, they're smart, yeah. I will make sure you get a card, though.
Thank you.
For sure, thank you.
That was it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next on the agenda is the approval of minutes from our last meeting, August 10th, 2022. Is there a motion to approve?
I move that we approve the minutes for the
Second.
August 10th meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And moving on to the next section. So item 6.1, welcome new commissioners. Over to Jeff.
Yeah, good afternoon, commissioners. Just want to reintroduce myself. My name is Jeff Nearson. I'm your Parks, Recreation, Libraries Manager. And I just want to introduce, we have two new commissioners on the Senior Commission. Unfortunately, one is unavailable today, but we do have one here, and that is Commissioner Arlene Starr. So welcome, Arlene. I will just kind of take this opportunity to give it back to you if you want to say a little something about yourself.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So we relocated here about 4 years ago from the coast, Santa Cruz, to be with family. And I am so amazed at the services that the city of Roseville provides. It continually amaze me. So I am a realtor with Keller Williams and certified by the National Association of Realtors. as a seniors real estate specialist. Can you hear me okay with the mask? If not, I'll take it. Okay. So I specialize in that sector. We support clients 50 and over, but I was wanting to do something more. And so I saw the Senior Commission opening come up, and I thought that's a perfect way to give back to the city. So I'm looking forward to getting to know my fellow commissioners and to achieving the goals that we set for the year. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Commissioner Starr. Our other commissioner, a new commissioner, is Commissioner Eugene Chang. And so, as I mentioned, unfortunately, he had a prior commitment when he applied for this role and accepted the appointment of a commissioner. So he'll be here at the goals workshop and then at the next commission meeting. So, yeah.
Nice. I'd like to open this up to public comment. Are there any comments from the commission?
Well, I would like,
have you.
Thank you.
I think we'd like to welcome her, and we look forward to the other commissioner joining us, because having a full commission will be a benefit for more ideas and conversation and adding more opinion to what we can be doing.
Thank you. So item 6.2, appointment of a new chair and vice chair.
So for this item, appointment of the chair, new chair, I do recognize that Commissioner Zimor is out right now, and so I would like to potentially move, or I would like to move this to the end of the agenda, and with the hopes that maybe she's running late, that she shows up, just to give ourselves kind of a better opportunity to make a selection and stuff. So with that, I think we need to have a motion to move this item to the end of the agenda.
So moved.
I second it.
Thank you. Since we're not selecting a chair or co-chair at this point, the chair was responsible for taking this next item, but I will go ahead and take this next item. So item 6.3, this will be a presentation by the Roseville Police Department's Community Speaker Series on the senior safety presentation. So. Right here.
First of all, good afternoon. Thank you very much for the invite to let you guys know what kind of we're doing over at the police department in our outreach to the senior community in Roseville. My name's Nina Phelps. I'm the Public Safety Programs Coordinator for the police department, and I have with me the amazing Linda Waggy. She is a volunteer for the police department, and she does, I would say, 98% of our presentations to when people call in to me and say, I need someone to do a presentation for senior safety. She is my first call to see if she's available. And then if not, I panic and then look for someone else. So I will put this over to her. I do want to say we have this year started to increase our outreach. We have actually teamed up with the Alzheimer's not American Alzheimer's Association, and we've done some dual presentations where they do 10 signs of Alzheimer's, and then we do the senior safety presentation. So we're looking forward to that continued collaboration with them. And we've also worked with Plaster Protect and also City of Roseville. We did one of their, it was the one over at Mahaney, and I think it was called Preparing is Caring. I think was the name of that one. So we are open to any of the thing that the city does, or if we hear other agencies are looking for senior safety kind of presentations or outreach, we are open to collaborate in that aspect. So now I will turn it over to Linda.
Thank you, Nina. I feel better standing because I'm kind of a short person, and I feel, so I have to kind of stand up to meet you at eye level. I do recognize one familiar face. Kathleen is my neighbor. She lives catty-corner across the street. So she discovered that I was doing this, and we met up at an event, so it's nice to be here today. I'm just going to give you an overview of what we're doing when we go out. It's usually around 45 minutes. This is going to be the 15-minute version of that. So we're out trying to, and I don't know if, yeah, you can go on to the next slide. I'm going to have to tell him when to go to the next slide. We like to go out and do this to prevent crime from happening before it happens. So that's our focus. We like to give you examples of some of the fraud and crime that's going on and then give you resources. So at the end of all of this, I'm going to give each of you a really nice packet because you're not going to remember everything I'm going to tell you. So we like to create an awareness of additional resources, and I find when we go out, some of it is interactive, so I'm going to expect you guys to be interactive with me a little bit. And the first question I want to ask you is, why are elders targets of abuse? What do you think? And just, you could probably think of a few, just call them out.
They're vulnerable.
They're trusting.
Yeah, we grew up in an era of trust. In a little town I grew up in, we never locked our front door. That's changed, but what else? When you think of a senior, why do they go after the seniors so much? You guys know because you...
Maybe less familiar with technology and so on, so they're easily confused about it.
Correct.
Are extremely knowledgeable in that area.
Yeah, and it used to be that all these frauds started on the landlines. Well, now they've kind of flipped it to the cell phones. So I know my age group isn't quite as tech savvy as some. I had to learn quite a bit myself. So we have memory issues when we get to a certain point. We are much less likely to report if something happens. You all know somebody that's been a victim of scams and frauds, probably. Yes? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we kind of know why. Let's go to the next slide. So what is elder abuse? The way we define it is elder abuse is an intentional or negligent act by any person that causes harm or serious risk of harm to an older adult. So this can be physical, be sexual abuse, just neglect, emotional abuse, and financial. In my prior life, I was an operations officer for B of A, so I saw the abuse and fraud going from that side of the counter. Now I see it going on among my friends who are in my age group. So these are all tips and things that I think we can help educate our adult children to watch for, the red flags and that type of thing. Next slide. So physical abuse can be assault, battery, domestic violence, under medications, and sexual battery and assault. Next slide, please. According to the Department of Justice, only 40.9% of violent crimes are reported to the police. And I found that to be an astounding number. It's not even half. So violent crime, we're seeing it more and more on TV at night, unfortunately.
Can I interject quickly?
Sure.
Okay. Isn't there some element of shame in that some of these people feel shameful?
And there are some common threads among scams and fraud with elders. Typically, they want you to act quickly, go do something right away, go buy gift cards. They don't want you to tell anybody, don't tell anybody, you know. Mm-hmm. And then there's the shame factor. So I'm going to have you skip the next slide. I had some statistics on, but we don't have time to go into those details. So the emotional abuse can be verbal abuse, yelling, anger. Caretakers, sometimes those are family members, which is sad. They actually threaten them with physical violence. They isolate them, limit the choices they have. So we'll go on to the next slide. These are just some of the things I go over when I'm teaching. I go to a lot of senior residences like Misty Wood, Eschaton, and they really need the education piece of this. So financial abuse can be all of these things that you're looking at, and I do recommend that people, a lot of times the staff in these facilities, we try to help them because then they can look out for things that are going on among, their residents. Next slide, please. We had some updated statistics on financial thefts, which are increasing more and more. Next slide, please. In the financial abuse area, have you known people who've had their identity stolen?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's especially bad when it's the Social Security number because that's a huge mess to try to fix. But we do recommend some of these things that you're seeing there, shredding documents, when they go to the grocery store, don't leave your purse open in the grocery cart. Someone can come right along and take it. Also, there are wallets now that these scanners can't scan your credit cards inside. So there's just some tips like that that we usually share. We'll go on past the next slide. We have, but these are some of those common threads we were talking about, the gift card. They want you to go get gift cards. You read off the number to them, and by the time you've done finished, the money's gone. So those are things to watch out for. Let's go on. Some of the common scams we're seeing are, you've heard the IRS one. The IRS does not call you. Your bank won't call you. I used to when I was a bank officer, try to tell people they were overdrawn, but they wouldn't let you do that anymore. So, and you've heard about the grandparent ones. So those are just a few of them. Next slide, please. So criminal neglect gets into somebody has to have a caregiver, and a lot of times they might be stealing drugs out of the medicine cabinet. They withdraw care to them, you know, and it's really sad, very sad, some of it. What we recommend is that if you suspect that somebody you know that's older is being abused, we suggest calling the protective services within the, what do they call it?
APS.
APS.
County APS.
County. And they will go out and investigate. The problem with a lot of family members abusing people is nobody wants to report their son doing this. You know, they don't want them to be arrested. So it's a real problem. So the next slide is self-neglect. Somebody lives alone, they're not taking care of themselves, and you start to notice that they don't look as sharp as they used to. Those are all things to look out for. So who do you call? Next slide. The police department, Adult Protective Services. If you're concerned, if you see something, it's good to do something. One of the things I'm going to give you in our packet is a list of phone numbers that you know, I wanted you to see what all we are doing in terms of giving people resources. According to the Department of Justice, only 1/3, 34% of property crimes are reported to the police. So that's, again, a pretty low number. A lot of, next slide, we don't do this by ourselves. That center group of law enforcement, we work in partnership with a lot of the other police departments around. So it takes an army to really help prevent this crime from happening. Some additional resources I've listed here, and they're also in the packet that I'm going to give you. So Nina, if you wanted to maybe just give everybody one of those. Another tool that I like to talk about when I go out is, you don't have to be a member of AARP to get this magazine. They have always good things in there about scams and fraud that are going on. Their website, the AARP website, is very good as well. So people laugh at me when I show this, but I'm in the age group, and it is really a good resource. So be aware of that. I'll ask you if you have any questions. You might have a question for Nina or me. If you know of places where we should go, and you know, you got the real quick version of this, but if you know of places where we should go and do this presentation, please don't hesitate to let us know, because we are finding it really helps. Anything to add?
No, just any questions, and something popped into my head, and it's now gone, so. But, I was going to give you my cards, so you have my contact information.
Yep. And
I
have
do
some
have a
in here,
question.
Nina.
I do have a question. Do you go to the assisted living facilities
Yes.
to make presentations?
Yeah.
Because I'm kind of a senior advocate because I'm a nurse and do healthcare with them. So often, or I find most often, it's the family.
Yep.
It's the children and the person who's having the money taken across because they've put their name on the accounts because they need to watch them be third, is to give them things that they can do as a parent that maybe have a third observer when a bill isn't paid, rather than put them on the checking account, or go have them do the trust. This is what, we'll do the trust for you, Mom
Yeah.
or Dad, and then they change it all over to their name.
Let me just tell you some of the things we created this little sleeve because you only need one credit card if you go shopping, really. And we recommend not using your debit card, because if you use your debit card, the money comes right out of your account. If you use a credit card when they're shopping, it's better. But these are protective sleeves that I suggest they put them by their phone, and they can use them. But this is the trifold that we created on identity theft and so forth. This is a really nice tool. It'll give you an idea of what crime's going on, fraud in our area right now. And then we are doing a newsletter every month. So at the back, you have the most recent newsletters we created. And if you had to call the police department, this is a tool you can use to know what questions are maybe going to be asked of you. I was out doing a presentation one day, and I had to call the non-emergency number. And this was a tool that came out as a result of that.
And another thing we did is we got the addresses of all of the assisted living facilities in Roseville, and we actually sent them all a letter. It was probably like 6 months ago now.
Yeah.
Letting them know that we were available for presentations, and we did get some facilities that called us and scheduled that.
So thank you very much.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
How is this distributed? Or
Pardon me?
How is your newsletter distributed?
We send links out on social media. We send links out. It's on the front page of the Roseville Police Department website. And I believe we also have finally connected with the main City of Roseville like news that they put out, and it's also a link in there.
Okay, good.
What about religious institutions? Have you gone to any of the churches, temples, or Sikh community to kind of help those that are maybe not so much in the mainstream, but are obviously equally vulnerable?
And a lot of older people in those congregations.
Right.
So we haven't.
We've done a couple churches that have requested it, like Destiny and the one on the hill, Adventure.
Adventure, yeah. Well, I think that it's probably something that you could, send out to, more mainstream churches who generally have older congregations, and say, this is a service we can offer, and, we'd be happy to come and give you information about it. And maybe they'll even help put the link in for the newsletter or something like that, because they all have newsletters
My
themselves.
time's up.
Well, that's a crazy ringtone.
So let's also open this up for public comment if there isn't any further questions.
Well, since I'm part of the public here.
Podium, please. Thank you.
Linda made a presentation. I live in a senior community. Linda made a presentation twice at our community, once about 3 years ago, which was the circumstance where she was standing there and we're talking about it, and we're watching some people come in and steal a car. Oh my God. Okay, and that's how she discovered that the non-911 number took a little longer than you'd like to respond. And then she was here about early summer or spring.
Yeah.
And these are great presentations, and I've seen a number of people in our community who have now started doing things differently because we're doing this sort of thing. So
Thank you for.
Thank you.
All right. Any other comments from the commission?
Do you have any
Go ahead.
advice?
Go ahead.
Well, this is more a question with is it called phishing? Phishing, where they send you a.
They want you to click on a link in a text or an email.
Right.
So 2 things I tell people: don't answer the phone if you don't recognize the number. You don't have to answer it. Let them leave a message. And don't click on any links in emails or text messages, because they look real. I got one from B of A that looked totally real, and I, of course, knew that my bank is not going to send me an email. So
And my question with that is there, I reported it. I went on the phone and it said, you could report it, and is that, and then my husband said, are you sure that's illegal? Well, I forwarded it to phishing.org something. I can't think of it, but is there like somewhere that you
those resources I gave you on the
it's
back,
in there?
on the back, FTC is a good place to report.
Okay.
But there's lots of phone numbers and
Oh, okay.
resources that you
Thank
can
you.
report those things, yes.
I was just going to ask you, does the police get involved, and I think to your point, where a homeowner is manipulated to transferring title over to caregiver, family member? They're trying to do away with that document that does allow that, but they've extended it a couple more years, so it's still going on. Do you care about wanting to know if we suspect that's going on, or if someone is suspecting that, or does it just go to an attorney or whatever?
It probably would be an attorney, but if you suspect something illegal or something not right's going on, it doesn't hurt to call us. That's one overarching request that we make, is it doesn't hurt to call us and talk to someone. Even if the police department or the officer can't do anything, normally we will be able to point the person that calls in to talk to us to somewhere where they can get help.
Good
But
to
yeah,
know.
if you see something, say something. It's a trademarked phrase, but it is so true, because we can't act on what we don't know is going on.
A way around this, because I had this example, not in my neighborhood, but from somebody. They are, they isolate the older person when the parent's living with them, and they'd go to make a wellness check, and they don't allow them in the house, and they tell them everything is fine. Is there any way the police can get around that, or is there anything that people who are very concerned, more than one, they're a little frustrated because they can't get anybody to pay attention?
Did they call the police department and the
Yes.
adult? So
They called and asked for a wellness check because they're concerned about not seeing the older person at all. And when the police went to the wellness check, apparently, all hearsay at this point, they said they're just fine and they didn't need them and didn't allow them in, so they left.
Okay. Yeah, without knowing the specific circumstances, that doesn't sound like anything that police are mostly trust but verify. So they would say, no, we actually need to see Mr. Smith to make sure everything's okay. Was it Roseville or was it somewhere else? Because there could be different policies and procedures.
It was in Rockland, but because you really stopped there, is there any way that anybody who's concerned can go any further with that? They're frustrated because they feel like they can't they can't get involved because they can't prove anything. So
I would
don't
say
know.
the two options would be to call the police department back, ask to speak to a watch commander, and say, hey, I called. Allegedly, an officer went out, but the officer wasn't able to speak with the person. I think there's a crime going on here, and get them to, take it to the next level, or call Adult Protective Services, because they also have different means to actually make access to make sure that person is actually okay. And that could even go further to something legal, like for lack of a better term, like a search warrant or a warrant to go into the house to verify. I don't think that's the term that they use, but it's the one that's popping into my head right now.
Okay, I don't think they've gone to the Adult Protective Group, so thank you for that.
Sure.
All right, so we'll move on. Item 6.4, adult programming and event update.
I'll wait for Sarah to come up here. I'll let Sarah.
We go back over there?
Are we switching spots?
Awesome. I'll stay. You go ahead.
Good afternoon, Commission. Thank you for having me. My name is Sarah Schleihofer, and I am a librarian with Roseville Public Library. Next slide, please. We're so proud to let you know that we have expanded our hours, and not all locations are exactly the same. So some of our locations are opening earlier in the day and staying open later at night. We're going to do this in 2 phases, so there's more to come. Next slide, please. Hublets are now installed and up and running in 2 of our locations, downtown and the Riley location. These are tablets that are preloaded with apps and links to newspapers, magazines, and various other engaging activities. And they are free to use inside the library with your library card. This gives more flexibility for moving about the library, being in a comfortable seat and or possibly at a table working with an adjacent person. We plan to use these a lot with our adult literacy program, but also the potential is pretty grand, having these in addition to our public PCs. Next slide, please. So we're seeing quite a trend at the library currently, and it's a very heartwarming one. Multi-generational families coming for various reasons. This is a picture of Grandpa Rich and his grandson Darren, and the story behind this photo is childcare and being on a waiting list for a very long time, still waiting. And so Grandpa Rich brings Darren to the library for story time, and they sit and they read, and they do some of our passive programming. And we're seeing a lot of grandparents bringing their children to the library. And the quote there, "Trust me when I say it's so wonderful to be able to share this time with Darren in such a beautiful and inviting place." Mm-hmm. So we know that our new hours are going to really maximize that effort as well. Young people get up at the crack of dawn, and so now they can come to the library. We're also partnering with Toys for Tots. So each of our locations has a donation bin, and anyone who wishes to contribute to that wonderful organization are more than welcome to drop them off. When the bins get full, we call, they pick up, and it's just worked beautifully. It's a nice partnership. So very quickly here, next slide, we're here to serve the community, and our numbers are just skyrocketing, and we're looking forward to continuing on with additional programming and services for our community.
All right. Thank you, Sarah. So I'm just going to provide some updates on just some events and things that have happened and coming up with our active aging group. Each of you have the most recent FAB newsletter, and so just a couple things I just want to highlight is our day trips. So we have, which is always very popular for us, is the Apple Hill day trip that is scheduled for November 10th. The bus leaves from the Mighty Community Center, obviously heads up to Apple Hill, stops at a few places, and then returns home. So great. It's a great trip. If you haven't been a part of that trip or been to Apple Hill, I certainly highly encourage you to look into it. The folks who go on that trip always come back, rave reviews, have a great time. And then another event coming up is our trip to a Broadway show called The Lost Clause. So that is on December 7th. So a couple really cool trips for our active aging community coming up. And then we hosted our FAB, our 50 and Better membership appreciation luncheon and Halloween potluck over the last couple weeks. So we had approximately 55 members attend the luncheon, and about 40 stuck around or came to our Halloween potluck, which is always a hoot, because to see what their costumes and, kind of, for lack of a better term, let their hair down and just have a great time. It's fun. We had music and played some cornhole and some other types of games, and always a fun event. And that was at the Mighty Community Center. And the last thing I want to just kind of leave you with, which is brand new for us, which our FAB team is super excited about, is hosting a prom night for those 50 and older, a senior prom night for those, called A Night Under the Stars. And so that is being held on February 4th out at the Wood Creek Golf Course, with a catered dinner, live music, dancing, obviously a photo spot. It's getting back to the prom concept. So I think I know staff are just super excited. We've gotten a lot of good feedback and interest with this event. So again, highly encourage if that's something that is of interest of you, definitely, explore it, take a look. If you have questions, certainly, the public have questions, could reach out to the Parks and Recreation Department. We'd be happy to assist you. But really excited about that program. So.
Did I hear it correctly that the seniors from the high school are going to be chaperoning that?
Yes, yes. Good call, yes.
Crack me up.
Yes. But so just, again, I apologize. So the event is 4 to 7 out at the Wood Creek Golf Course on February 4th, so I didn't want to neglect that. So, yeah, there'll be the Roseville High School students will be serving as servers and waiters and bus boys and girls. And so it's going to be a great collaboration with the high school and making that event happen. So really excited about that. So.
In December, we also have part of our Be Well Roseville initiative, a Healthy Holidays recipe event going on. This will be on the Mahaney campus, so it's in the PRL magazine. It's a free event, and it's talking about and sharing information for eating healthy, especially during the holidays where it gets to be a little more challenging.
I did want to mention one more thing that I forgot that was a huge success for us is this past weekend we brought back the craft fair out at the Mighty Community Center. We hosted the Native Craft Fair out at the Mighty Museum and Historic Site, and then the library played a role in that. So that whole the whole Mighty campus, we brought back the craft fair, something we haven't had.
3,500 people.
Yeah, we had about 3,500 people attend, over 100 vendors. Really great. It was a great day for the event. No rain, which was, and it's something we haven't had for the last 2-3 years, maybe. So, again, great event for us. If I don't know if any of you had the opportunity to stop by, I did. It was busy, but a great experience. So, great vendors, good quality stuff, and huge success for us. We were a little nervous bringing that back, but it turned out great. So, something we'll continue to look at doing that as an annual event. So, I had to make sure I mentioned that. That was a big undertaking by staff. So, which we really appreciated. So, but that's all we have. Any questions from the commission?
I just want to say it's very well appreciated because that was a huge complaint when they did not have it that year. So a lot of people were very appreciative for all the work that it takes, and they know that, but they will do whatever it takes to keep it. I can tell you that from what they said.
Thank you.
I'd like to open it up for public comment. Anything else from the commission? All right, on to the next one. Board member, commissioner, staff report. Staff, do you have updates or comments for the commission?
Yeah, I do. So just a couple updates. As we know, on December 6th, we will have our senior commission goals workshop to discuss what our goals are for the year for 2023. That'll be at 9 a.m. at the Martha Riley Library meeting rooms. Another update, I know the last commission meeting, I believe it was, we talked about the age-friendly community survey. And so the status of that is I am working with AARP directly to update our survey. And then once they do that, then they will send that out to all the AARP members in the city of Roseville, which is a big support for us in regards to the outreach. And then we will also internally put that on our website, put that in our facilities, and start soliciting that data. So unfortunately, I don't have a timeline for you. I know last I worked with or spoke with ARP, they're fairly backed up. So we don't want to send out the survey until it's fully updated and complete. So we're willing to kind of wait a little bit, knowing that the survey will be ready properly before we send it out. So hopefully, maybe by the goals workshop, I'll have more information in regards to when that survey goes out. If it doesn't go out prior to the goals workshop. So,
is it possible, Jeff, to revise goals after those survey results come back? Is there
Potentially, yeah. I mean,
things that come
yeah,
out of it?
we'll have to look at that. I mean, we could always set our goals at the workshop, but then we could always work on stuff that's.
Massage them a little bit or
Yeah,
have a little
yeah.
opening there.
Absolutely, we can talk through that, yeah. Good suggestion.
And you may have to, since I'm an older member and you're new, there are like 8 categories that they look at, and one of them is housing, and housing always comes up. Transportation always comes up. So there are some that we can predict that we'll be looking at and work in partnership again, always looking at what the city's goal is and what we can do to help them get what they need done. And a lot of it is getting the information out to people. So often things get planned or done and people just aren't aware of all the things that gets done in Roseville. So I think, I know that's one of our goals, and that's always a goal that's on there also, to continuously figure out ways to reach people.
I guess the last thing I have is tomorrow we are hosting an event called Honoring Veterans. That's here on the Vernon Street Town Square from 6 to 7:30. And so really what that is just to recognize our veterans within the city of Roseville. So we'll have some food trucks, live music, a kids zone with kids activities. Each branch of the military will be represented on site. They'll have a table or a booth, if you will. And then we are also accepting donations to build care packages to send overseas to our troops. So very excited about that event. It's the first time we've hosted this, but we've gotten some great support. So I encourage, if you're available, come out 6 o'clock tomorrow at the Vernon Street Town Square and really just kind of kick back. The weather's going to be great. No rain. So that's half the battle. So, but that's all I have.
Commission members, do you have comments or updates for staff?
What do we do about this?
Right. If not, on to adjournment. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Hold on.
So Marissa,
Okay.
we have to go back to item 6.2.
Yeah.
And so since we don't have at least all of the board members here to take a vote on chair and vice chair, we should take a motion to trail this item to the next senior commission meeting. So we'll need a motion and for it to pass in order to move it to the next meeting.
Do we have a motion to move it to the next meeting?
I have a comment. Are we going to insist on 100% attendance? Because we may be putting it off, since we only meet quarterly, we may be putting it off for quite a while if we expect to have 100% attendance.
So I don't, I'm not trying to insinuate that we need 100% attendance. I just know, I'm not sure if, for example, if Nicole or if the newer board member might want to also volunteer for those positions. So I at least want at least one of them here in case they wanted that position and wanted to speak up, but for whatever reason they couldn't make it. By no means do we need 100% attendance in order to make that happen.
A question then is, did you approach Nicole and she said she was interested in being chair?
I think she's shown interest. Yes. But kind of moving into the next meeting, it's something that I'll certainly communicate to the commission to kind of make a point that at that meeting the goal will be to select a chair and a vice chair and to confirm what attendance we have at that commission meeting. So,
What do those positions do?
what do the chair and the vice chair do? So the chair really is, they run the meeting. For myself, I'm just kind of the liaison to the department and the commission, but the chair really controls the agenda, walks through the agenda, and then for myself or for the departments, we'll work through the chair and the vice chair on issues and matters or ideas or topics moving into maybe the next meeting. And so they're the conduit between the liaison and the commission.
Right, and it's an important conduit. I was chair for a number of years. So indeed, it's a very important communication link for what you might want to look for the goals to kind of frame it so that the commissioners are very involved also, and we bring the voice of people who talk to us. So it's a real partnership, and I hate to see us not at least have a leader who's agreed she might, and she's been on the committee, which is helpful. So that's my plea, that maybe go ahead and then have the vice chair come in as one of the new people, and they will be able to work with the chair. As long as Nicole has said she would be willing to do that and is able to do that, she's working still, so that makes a difference.
So what is the date of our next meeting?
Our next meeting will be in February. The date is, I think it's the second Wednesday of February. I don't have the exact date, but. And this is information, too, we can also bring up at our goals workshop, too. Not to select a chair or vice chair, but, I think it's something that we can just talk about, meeting procedures and things like that on the agenda at the next goals workshop, too, which, again, we meet in a month, so.
Well, my concern is that we only meet quarterly, and this is the second time that we're postponing selecting a chair and a vice chair. And to me, we've had several resignations. So I would like to find a way to move some leadership issues forward so that we have the opportunity to select the chair and the vice chair and form a more cohesive group. Now, much of that can be done at the goals meeting, but again, and I've mentioned this concern before, only meeting quarterly doesn't really give us much consistency from meeting to meeting. And we've had resignations, and so I think we need to look at why are people resigning. Some of these people have only been on a year or two before they've resigned. So we need to kind of get some feedback as to what that is all about, so that when we're selecting new commissioners, we make it clear what the commitment is and, how we can move forward in order to serve our senior community, which we have a very large senior community in this city, but it is somewhat diverse, so we need to have good representation.
I totally agree, and I think those are good conversations to have at our goals workshop, as far as what our goals are, and maybe that could be a little bit about what you had mentioned could be one of those goals, and then certainly setting up, just reviewing expectations of the commission, and talking about, the meetings. So I think that December meeting will be a great opportunity to kind of talk about some of that. So I appreciate that.
Are those four-year positions, Jeff, assumed? Or expectation that it's a four-year position commitment?
Yes.
For the chair and the vice chair, do we expect that they will serve?
I think that's a 2-year.
2-year?
Yeah, it's a 2-year term. Yes.
So I just want to clarify, we do have two options. If there are people present that want to assume the chair and vice chair role, we can certainly move forward with voting on that. But if we don't have a nomination for a chair and a vice chair, and we do want to trail that to the next meeting, we absolutely can do that as well.
Mm-hmm. And is the workshop goals the next meeting, or are you considering just February? Can that be done in December at that meeting? So we don't have to wait till February?
Can we do you can't select chair or vice chair goals workshop? Yeah, so the selection of the chair and the vice chair would be either at this meeting or the February meeting, not this December goals workshop.
So I'm back to my same question. What you're asking is, can we, in absentee of Nicole Zamora, can we nominate and vote on her? Do we have a quorum?
So you do have a quorum.
Because we're meeting, so.
Even I understand that Nicole has expressed interest, but without her being present to kind of verify that she does for sure want that position, I would hate to vote for her and assume that is her desire.
Right. Yeah, it would be my preference that if we are waiting to see that she would be present at that meeting. So, that just makes more sense. You don't nominate people who are not in attendance or who haven't submitted a written letter of intent or something like that, that's what they would like.
Yeah.
So the commission would just have to make a motion of direction if they want to push this off.
I would move that we postpone item 6.2 to our February meeting.
Second?
And I'll second it.
We'll need it all in favor.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposition? All right, move to the next meeting. So now we're going to move on to the adjournment. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
Thank you. Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.